So finally, let's talk about some good news. So, as some of you may know, I work at a homeless shelter every other weekend. I'm not there all the time, but I do get an idea of what's going on with them. So the good news is this: California has taken really good care, or at least Los Angeles has taken really good care of the homeless population, and that's important both for their lives and for ours. Because if the homeless population gets coronavirus in the typical situation they're in, that would be very bad for everybody, including them. These homeless shelters are, the one that I go to in particular is basically open air. It's an old, what do they call it again? Like a train station, essentially, or a bus station. It's open air. They've put some kind of plastic sheeting up to give a little bit of, to break the wind a little bit, but essentially it's just a big room that a bunch of people are sitting in, which is pretty much the worst case scenario for COVID transmission. So as soon as the lockdown stuff started coming down, they went to these shelters and they locked them down. People can only really leave for doctor's appointments, to pick up medication, and that sort of thing. And so there was nobody besides the staff coming in and out. There was one positive case with like a staff member. They were tested. They found out. They did contact tracing. They found a couple other people who had it, and then quarantined them. And they took care of them, and now everyone's doing fine. So it never had a chance to really get into the population of homeless people trapped in a homeless shelter and kill a bunch of them, because a lot of homeless people are over the age of 55. A lot of them have comorbidities, hypertension, asthma, COPD, cancer, all kinds of things in these people. So that's the first thing they did. They locked down the shelters. They took care of them. The second thing they did is they actually went out, and there's, as you've probably seen on the news, there's a lot of homeless encampments, and they actually went out and got all those people out of those homeless encampments and took them to other places. They took them to temporary shelters. They took them to hotels, and they kind of dispersed them out and broke down the camps. So again, that's another place where there could have been a really huge amount of transmission and deaths that was stopped. And then in the last couple of weeks, what they did again is the density inside the homeless shelter was actually very dense. I mean, people were not able to do a lot of social distancing. Beds were literally right next to each other. You could sneeze and cover like 10 people with your sneeze juices. So what they actually did is they went in and they've decreased the density of the homeless shelters. They went in and took probably about half the population or a third of the population who had pre-existing conditions like asthma or diabetes, and they took them and they put them in a hotel, essentially. They have contracts with some hotels, and they're putting people in there. And so the density, I would say, without looking at the numbers, just visually looking at the shelter, there's about half as many people in the shelter that I work at as there were before. And that's because, and all those people did not just get thrown out on the street, they're where they need to be. So all those things have made it so there's very, very little chance of transmission. Then, as you may have seen in a previous video, I'm very impressed with the speed at which people are getting testing. The speed at which they're getting removed from the shelter and taken to a place where they can be safely quarantined. I had a patient who, I had some concerns. They may have some COVID. And so I called it in, they did a triage, they sent somebody out, they literally got them out of there in maybe like an hour. And the shelter that I'm at actually has an isolation tent, so there's a place you can keep people long term. But they, I think Illumination Foundation is the one who does the transport. They were literally there within an hour or two, and took the patient, took all their, not all their stuff, but they took a lot of their stuff. And put it in there. The other thing that the particular shelter, I don't know, I can't speak to all the shelters, but the particular shelter I work at did that was really good is they actually took everyone's stuff. The homeless people, like everyone, have quite a bit of gear. They took all their stuff and they put it in numbered, locked. They're actually trash cans, but they're clean trash cans. But they put them in storage essentially. And they can go and get stuff out of storage. But they basically were able to reduce the amount of crud laying around. And put it in a secure place so people wouldn't worry about it. They wouldn't say, "Oh, I can't stay here because I can't, give up my, my extra blankets or whatever." No, those are still there. They're just safely kept out of the way so that they're not another source of infection. So, basically, that's what's going on in LA in terms of managing COVID with the homeless population, and I think it's fantastic. I don't know the numbers and statistics, but I mean, we had, I think we have 200 to 400 people who stay in our shelter, and I don't think we have any. I want to say we don't have any positive COVID cases, which is pretty damn good in my opinion. And I'm glad that LA County and California in general takes the lives of their citizens seriously, even if they're not living in a house. Yeah, that's some good news. LA did good stuff.